3 continuous winters will herald the end of times. Humans will go mad with desperation. Brothers will kill brothers as civilization collapses. The great wolf, Fenrir, will scrape clean the surface of the earth with his ravenous jaws. The serpent, Jormungandr, that encircles the world, will emerge from the oceans to spew venom across land and sea, and through a massive rift in the sky, armies of fire giants will march forth in a cascade of flames. That is how Ragnarok, the Norse myth for the end of the world, begins. And it does everything an apocalyptic prophecy should. It's terrifying, over the top, and final. It is also uncomfortably relevant. While we don't have a massive wolf consuming everything, we do have human beings clearing vast swaths of vital forest for agriculture. Humans blowing up mountainsides for lithium mining, mountainsides that are not only important ecosystems, but are also the sacred land of many cultures. We might not have Jormungandr spewing venom across everything, but we do have air pollution running rampant and oceans being choked by trash, much of which is invisible to the naked eye. We are Fenrir. We are Jormungandr. We are the armies of fire giants. In our relentless industrialization, in our prideful pursuit of forward progress, we, human beings, have brought about a self-inflicted Ragnarok. We have created an apocalypse. Now, many of you may find this apocalypse I've described to be overblown. And yes, you got me. We're not experiencing a great and spectacular collapse of fire and glory at the end of it all, like the Norse predicted. Our apocalypse is much more real and much more here, but it is elusive and distorted. It does not look us in the eye, but instead breathes down our backs, standing just out of sight, dancing between being too slow to be a priority and too massive to even comprehend. Perhaps that is why these issues keep worsening, why we cling to our inherently destructive ways even as the biosphere crumbles before our eyes. How could we let this happen, we now ask ourselves? How could we advance so far as a species, yet cut the very threads that hold together the web of life? How could we poison our mother? When did we forget our ties to her? These are hard questions. These are scary questions. These are questions that repel us and make us scramble for distractions. I see you reaching for your phone over there. But they are vital questions in these trying times. So come with me, my friends, and we will see if we can remember what we have forgotten. My name is Logan Navar. I grew up in a small southern Utah town, hidden between sagebrush-strewn deserts and red rock canyons, standing in the shadows of mesas peppered with bushes and trees. I am convinced that the best learning I have ever experienced is through exploration. Running around barefoot, climbing trees, turning over logs, and kneeling in the grass to look as the insects scuttle around. I've had no mentor more honest, wise, or direct than nature itself. I was so lucky to have long days to simply be in the wilderness, without external stimulation and without a particular goal or destination. I lost this when I moved to California at the age of 11, greeted by a suburban expanse of matching tiled roofs and neatly cut grass. A piece of me was missing. Though there were many more places to go and people to meet, I was more bored and lonely than I had ever been before. That is, until I went to Headwaters. Headwaters is an outdoors camp in Northern California that teaches wilderness and nature skills. Think tracking, shelter building, fire making, and communicating with plants and stones. Yeah, it sounded hippie, a little weird to me too at first, but Headwaters changed my life. It taught me to interact with nature at a depth and scale that I hadn't touched before coming here. An experience as simple as looking into the eyes of a massive toad becomes somehow deeply moving. It must have been 10 minutes that I lay there, dripping wet and cold as I had just come out of the creek and it was nighttime, listening to the far-off sounds of the community laughing and chatting by the fire, staring into the eyes of this extraordinary being. My heart was an outpour of passionate gratitude to be able to connect with this ecosystem. Profound connection to nature like this used to be a near universal human experience. Now we are more withdrawn from each other and from nature than we have ever been before, and we have no idea how much that harms an individual. I have a friend who went to Headwaters this past summer, and she's been kind enough to let me share her story with you today. My friend has struggled with mental health throughout her life. Body issues, self-harm, and suicidal tendencies have weighed heavy upon her. Even during Headwaters, she experienced some suicidal ideation. But months after, upon a lot of self-reflection and long walks in the woods by her house, my friend realized she is, to quote her, "kinda awesome sauce, yo." Her suicidal thoughts were, somehow, mostly gone. She told me that it just took a while for the stuff from Headwaters to click. Having spent this time in nature made her more aware and receptive, and learning the skills she did at Headwaters allowed her to interact with the landscape more deeply. Now, I am not prescribing the great outdoors instead of therapy or medication. Those are still important, and my friend still does use meds for her mental health. But clearly, participating in a small, close community in conjunction with nature fostered deep healing for her. Why was this so powerful? Maybe we forget how much we miss the way of life our ancestors had. They didn't just know what plants were edible, what various bird calls meant. They were in communication, relationship with these beings. Every single one of you sitting here today, listening to this talk, is here because of your countless Earth caretaker ancestors bringing you into existence, loving you into being. Let us take that love now, that love that is deep in our bones, and extend it once again to the world we are responsible for and to the generations that shall follow us. Our lack of union with the land on which we live is part of what allows us to continue destroying our planet for profit and progress. When we see the nature we are using as simply a non-living pile of resources available for human consumption and only valuable because we need or want it, we cannot make meaningful or lasting change. But somewhere in the wildness of our hearts, we know that we are nature, that our fundamental entanglement with the ecosystems we interact with cannot be changed for as long as our humanity remains. It's up to all of us, as individuals and as communities, to remember this. Now, this is all very profound and expansive and existential, but what are some simple, concrete, everyday ways that we ourselves can change the way we live to live in kinship with the earth? It really can be straightforward. Plant a garden or a window box. Research what kinds of flowers and plants are best for the pollinators in your area. And when they begin to flourish, sit there quietly, observe things, listen to the birds, watch the bees going about their vital task. Go on long walks. If you can, get to the beach or a desert or a forested area, really any open space. If you can't, simply find a plant nearby. Notice anything you can about it. Observation is key. Start a conversation with it. My plant Amelia was my main audience when rehearsing this very talk. Learn how to climb trees. Spend hours in silence outside. And just be present in nature. The change truly begins with the time you spend in the dirt. Once we have rediscovered this connection to nature, we are no longer fighting for the landscapes we enjoy being in or the ecosystems we rely on. Now we fight for who we love. That is how Ragnarok is diverted. May you be blessed. Thank you.